Welcome to all my travelers out there. I am your host, Darren Beckett, and this is the Global Travel Podcast. For those who do not know my travel resume, I've been to 13 states, 15 countries on 5 different continents, but it is not about me. Here, we are giving you quality travel tips, insights, and recommendations on all the best destinations for ideas to enjoy your vacations. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We are all clear for takeoff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we reach our destination, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and if you could do me a huge favor right now, if you can go in the comment section below, type in the words, "I got my ticket." And at the end of the video, I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you some love, see how your experience went with us, and see how everything went, okay? So with that being said, on today's episode, we are taking a trip to Cuba. So make sure you got your passports, your earphones, and something to snack on. We have a special guest here with us today, and he goes by the name of Emmanuel Perez, but better known as Manny. So what's going on, Manny, brother? How you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. I'm really good right now.
Good, man. Good. Yeah, for those who don't know out there, man, me and Manny, we go back. We went to school together, San Diego State. So we got a little bit of history, just chopping it up, traveling, doing some crazy things or what have you. And what we're going to talk about today, like I said, Cuba, we're going to just dive deep into it. First, we're going to actually cover some states because I know the COVID's going on. A lot of things are happening right now. So for a lot of folks want to know what's happening in the States right now. So we're going to definitely touch on that. And then let me see here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Manny. Where you from? Where you live? With your hobbies? What do you do? X, Y, and Z. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
And that's hard. I always struggle with these questions. But man, I am originally from San Diego. I was born there, but my family moved to Fort Worth when I was about 3 years old. I lived in Fort Worth up until I was 17, moved back to California when I was a junior. At the end of my junior year, I moved back to San Diego, went to school there, and then got into San Diego State and went to school to be a teacher. And, ended up in the Middle East, taught there for 3 years, came back here, taught for 2 years, and now I just started up my own business. So, it's been a grind. I got out of school when I was 24. It took me 5 years to finally get it up and running, but luckily I'm there, and it's grind time. I just finished up my first month of owning my own food truck, so I'm in a happy place because I know that it took a long time to manifest it, but if you set the course right and you actually start knocking things off your checklist in order to accomplish that, I realized, and I got to see it firsthand, that you can make it happen. So that's been really cool because teaching was awesome, but at the same time I knew that I wanted to do more in life. I wanted to do something for the kids, and now I got to do something for myself. So I'm trying myself out in the world of business and entrepreneurship, and I'm at the very early stages of it. I'm not nothing of a success story or anything, but I'm grinding and I'm hoping to be. So we'll see how that goes, man.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, man. This man is going somewhere. We spoke for a few minutes before we started the podcast. He's definitely going somewhere. And then y'all don't know, man. He's been to 15 different states, over 30 different countries, lived in 3 different countries. So, man, when I talk about travel, and he knows what he's talking. I thought I traveled a lot, but I have nothing compared to this man right here. So, I want you guys to tune in, listen up, pay attention, because he has a lot of great information and some travel details that you guys can definitely benefit from and take with you as well. So, with that being said, man, let's go ahead and just dive into it. What are some of the states you've been to? You can just name. You don't have to name all of them, but just name a couple that you've been to.
So look, man, it's funny because I'll be honest with you. There's this time when we were at San Diego State. I had a professor, and I'm going to try to wrap it up as quickly as I can. But he gave us a lecture one day, and he's actually an advisor. We got really lucky, man. San Diego State has some really cool professors, really intelligent professors. I don't know if it was the area or the weather, but it attracted some really cool people, man. And so this guy basically told our class on the first day. He basically said, "Look, I was an advisor for George Bush. And I don't know if I'm teaching you guys, but I feel like I gain some knowledge that I need to share with you guys. And so he just grabbed us immediately. Like, we were just tuned in. And long story short, I could dive into it. I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you the moral of the lesson that he gave us that day. And the moral of the lesson was that as Americans, especially our generation, I was born in the 90s, and I just feel like we kind of inherited an America that was, at the top of its game. And as a result, he described it as an island effect, right? And so what happens to a lot of Americans is that we don't leave our island. We stay here. We don't, he was saying your generation needs to go out and see the world, right? And so I was like, you know what? He's kind of got a point, because what happens, imagine if America was an island and we were the best at sports, we were the best economically, we had the strongest military. I mean, you could technology, all the things that when we were growing up in the 90s, we really were pretty badass. And I was like, when you feel as if you're on an island and you have all the answers and everything you need, you don't leave the island because it's all there for you. And I think that's the mindset that he was trying to break. He said, you guys go see the world. Don't be limited to America. So I got on this mindset where I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see the world, And so what's funny is that COVID, I was in spring break in Mexico City when COVID hit hard. Well, I'm talking about the borders closed. And so I was still following his philosophy at 29 years old, seeing the world, right? And then COVID hit and I came back and I had to start remote learning and I couldn't leave anywhere. I was stuck at home. I couldn't go anywhere. So I was like, man, I'm you know me, man, I like to travel. I feel like it really helps me get my mind right. It helps me get it helps me come back with so much motivation. When I go out, I feel like it's just such a stress relief. I get motivated by the young people that I see, by the environments that I'm around. And then I come back and it's like a refreshing start. But then COVID hit and it was just like, well, shit, you can't go anywhere. I had a flight in June to Peru. I thought I was going to go to Peru and I couldn't go. So I was left to do domestic travel, which ended up doing a lot of good for me because I was sleeping on America. And I think a lot of people didn't realize how much America really had to offer until COVID, because we were forced into this environment where we couldn't really get out. So, yes, I've been to some really cool places in America, but I want to stress this one area that really just blew my mind these last couple of months. I went back to it twice. I don't go to a lot of places 2 times unless I really like them, And so actually I was doing research back in February about the food truck that I wanted to buy, and I wanted to find the right company to build my food truck. I found it in Tennessee, right? And so Tennessee's about a 10-hour drive. So I had to drive out to Tennessee first and foremost to scope out the company and make sure that if I was going to give them money to, create my vision, that it was worth it. So I knew in my mind that I had to travel to Tennessee before I even invested. So if I'm going to drive 10 hours, I might as well get a little vacation out of it, right? So I started exploring. I started talking to some people because, to be honest with you, for me, domestically, my place of choice has been the West Coast, not limited to California. If you were to ask me, one of my favorite places in America has got to be Oregon. I love Oregon. It's amazing. It's absolutely, it's beautiful. I love California, but I went up to Oregon and honestly, it's somewhere that I wish a lot more people really got to experience, because the people are amazing. The places there are amazing. There's so many things to do there. I haven't made it up to Seattle, but the more that I go up on the West Coast, up north, the more I realize it just keeps getting more beautiful, so I will say that, naturally I'm more of a West Coast vibe type of guy. So the idea of Tennessee, which is in the South, was just kind of like alien to me. It was just kind of like, I don't really go. One time my family drove from Dallas to Florida, and I got to hit a bunch of states like, Southern Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, and they just didn't leave a very good impression on me in terms of natural beauty. I don't know if San Diego just kind of ruined a lot of stuff for me and I didn't have expectations, but
Right.
The South wasn't an area I really wanted to explore. Now let's fast forward a bit and let's get to where I had to go to Tennessee. So I said, well, you know what? Let me contact some people. And they told me, one of my good friends, he works for BNSF, which is a railroad company, and they moved him out to live in Memphis. And so I contacted him and I was like, bro, I got to go out to Tennessee. Where should I go? You lived there, you lived in Memphis. Where should I go? He said, first of all, go to the Great Smoky Mountains. What the hell is that? I've never heard of that. What is that? So the Great Smoky Mountains are actually the Appalachian Mountains, which is one of the second biggest mountain range in America next to the Rocky Mountains, right? So there is actually some really, really nice mountains that are out in the South, and they run through Arkansas, they run through Tennessee. And man, it's like when I left the Great Smoky Mountains, it's like I understood why I had never heard of it. It's almost like they want to keep it a secret because it's amazing. It really is, man. There's Gatlinburg, there's the Pigeon Forge. I mean, it is really something that I wish more people got to understand is in the South. Because like myself, I had a very misunderstanding of what the South really had to offer. And it's a lot more beautiful than I could have ever expected. I mean, if you were to ask me, it's a 10-hour drive from Dallas to Denver, and it's a 10-hour drive from Dallas to the Smoky Mountains.
Right.
11, but it's pretty similar in distance. I'd take the Smoky Mountains, and you'd ask me why. It's because it's more low key. It's cheaper. There's not such a tourist trail there. You know what I mean? And there's just something about getting immersed in the mountains and wanting to be secluded that Denver sometimes didn't have to offer for me. I've been there a couple of times. I love Colorado. I think it belongs on the West Coast. It just got kind of positioned somewhere else. But I love it. But to me, the life lesson that I learned from COVID was that I need to stop sleeping on domestic beauty because it's all over the place. I watched a couple of HBO series right now. If you were to ask me the place that I really want to go to the most, I would tell you Montana. I would tell you Wyoming. And before, that wasn't the case for me. I mean, go watch Yellowstone, the HBO series, and you'll see why. I mean, Jackson's Hole, all that stuff, man. I mean, I really kind of felt like I was trying to see the beauty of the world, and I was blinded to the beauty that was right in front of me here domestically. And I feel like COVID really just kind of made me open up my eyes to just, wait a minute, take a step back. And you don't have to leave all the time. It's here. You can drive to it. You can, you know what I mean? And it's something different. You feel a little more patriotic compared to me going to a place in Colombia and seeing some amazing stuff compared to seeing it here in America. And you're like, oh, like this is ours. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like this is readily available to me whenever the hell I want. I don't have to fly there. You know what I mean? So it's more, when you think about like having a family and like, because we're young, Darren, like the things that we've done, when you think about having a family, maybe you will be able to do half the stuff we did if we're lucky.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if we're lucky. But when you start traveling domestically and doing some of the things that maybe our parents did, because my dad loved taking us on caravans and taking us around America. You know what I mean? I got really lucky as a little kid. So now as an adult, and because of COVID, I've just kind of realized, I'm like, man, this is more of the type of vibe that I would take my family on. You know what I mean? Because I don't have to go on this crazy flight and, you know what I mean? And these hotel expenses, because right now, because we're young, because we don't have kids. I don't know if you have kids there. I don't have kids.
Not yet.
But we can stay in hostels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a family, you can't, and that's why I was going to talk to you a little bit about Indonesia, because Indonesia really opened up my mind to something completely different. But right now we're talking about domestic travel, and I don't know a lot of people that would say, "Hey, man, hop on a plane and go to Tennessee," but I would.
Right. And you know what? It's real cool that you mentioned that, because right in our own backyard, man, like you said, I don't think we appreciate what we have in our own backyard, man. We can just take a drive, rent a car if you want, or take your own vehicle. Like you said, I don't have kids or family at the moment, but if you have kids and family, I think domestic travel is the way to go, especially with everything going on right now. And so, like you said, there's a lot of stuff that we can experience right here in our backyard in America, and just until things get a little safer to travel abroad. But it's still, you still can travel abroad. You, of course, definitely take
For
the
sure.
proper precautions. But far as the what would you recommend to eat? Because I know I've been to Memphis, Tennessee, and they have good barbecue, man. I'm gonna tell you, they got some good barbecue. I don't know who got the bet. Now you in Texas right now, so maybe you can say who got the best barbecue between Texas and Tennessee. Did you actually try barbecue in Tennessee, or
I
what
did,
would
of
you recommend?
course, man. I'm a huge barbecue guy. I mean, man, I love barbecue so much. I was willing to wait outside of Phil's Barbecue for an hour in San Diego because they ain't got no barbecue out there. That's like the only place with good barbecue. So it takes a long time to get it. So if you're in
Right.
San Diego, check out Phil's because it's really good, but it's a long wait. Here in the South, we have a lot of good barbecue. Tennessee is at the top of it, honestly. I went to a couple spots. I could actually provide you with the names of them. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm a huge brisket guy. I'm a huge pork butt. I love burnt ends, all that stuff, man. I
Yep.
love it. And when I was in Tennessee, I definitely took advantage of that. Fried okra, all that southern, the soul food and stuff like that. I've also been to New Orleans and tried all the food there, and I love it, man. I mean, it's different, very fried, not the healthiest of food, but
No.
it's something when you're on vacation. I don't think you should really think about that too much and just dive into it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned, Louisiana, great food. If you've never been to Louisiana, you can stop in New Orleans, or Nolans, as they say, Nolans. You can stop in Baton Rouge, Lafayette. They got jambalaya, gumbo, etouffee, all kind of stuff. Like, and it, like you said, it's nothing healthy. Nothing is healthy. We're not going for health. We're going for taste. So yeah, definitely when you're down south, definitely try, like in Tennessee, try the barbecue. In
Oh, turkey
Louisiana,
legs. They
where?
got turkey legs. Turkey legs in Tennessee.
Turkey legs.
I never had a turkey leg out in California, man. But those, man, turkey leg.
Yeah.
Never had a turkey leg. Look for that, man. I'm telling you.
Right. So what other states did you go to? I know you've been to quite a bit. What other states that you've been to that you can shed light on what to do, what to eat, what to see, what to experience, X, Y, and Z?
Florida. Gotten to see Florida, and I'm not, and the funny thing is, I haven't done Miami, believe it or not.
Oh.
Um, yeah, I have not done Miami. Inshallah, God willing, I will eventually. But um, see, you have to understand that proximity has a lot to do with people's travel and the places that they have a tendency to go visit, right? So I feel like if I were to ask people in California, like, have you ever been to Destin? They wouldn't know what that is,
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, I feel like being from California, even though I did grow up in Texas, I love California. I'm very proud to be from there. I've always resonated with that place. But unfortunately, our beaches just aren't that nice. I mean, you may want to sit there and be naive to the reality, but reality is that water is cold, man. It is
Very,
freezing. It
very.
is freezing, and so my family, one of the common trips here in Texas, because we can drive to California. We can drive to Florida. So one of the most common areas that people here go to is an area called Destin. It's called Destin, Florida, kind of close to Panama City. I recommend you, Darren, to Google it when you get done with this, because honestly, it's arguably the nicest water I've been to domestically. I mean, it's pristine, and I mean, it's warm, it's clear, it's aqua blue, it's the Caribbean. You know what I mean? It's just when I walked into it, I mean, it was just instant a reality check. It's like, man, I thought California's water was decent. This is where it's at. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people unless you really do your research, I feel like, word of mouth is really important. That's why I'm, sharing this interview with you, because I feel like sometimes you need to, have somebody that you trust, somebody that has done, these things, give you this advice on things that they've experienced. My experiences, go check out Destin.
Yes.
I've been to Daytona Beach. I've been to Orlando or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I've been to Cocoa Beach. I've been to, that's like a little, like, let's say you hit up San Diego, you hit up LA, and then you hit up Vegas. It's a little jump off spot, right? Well, if you hit Orlando, you can go to Daytona Beach, you can go to Cocoa Beach. Sure, that's interesting. You got, what is it? Universal Studios. You have a lot of attractions there, but you don't have the natural beauty that you have in Destin. You know what I mean? Destin is, so let's say, and I'll show you hands, because, so let's say that Florida is like this, right? It's just kind of, so it's near Georgia.
Okay.
Destin
West
is near
side.
Georgia.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly. So it's not on the Atlantic coast. It's actually in that little, I'll call it like a little panhandle area, kind of like in Texas. So it's it's in an area that, if you were to look at the popular places in Florida, you wouldn't think about it too much, But honestly, man, I have a lot of friends here, and it is arguably one of the most popular places for Texans to go to. That is where we go.
What about because I know there are places in Florida that I guess the old folks are, what's the demographics we're in Destin? Is there like millennials, old folks, a mixture? What's the demographics like? Who is it for?
Man, honestly, I feel like Florida is full of old folks wherever you go. And it's like, I've never been to Miami, so I can't really talk about Miami. I feel like Miami would definitely be the exception. Destin is not the biggest city. When I went there, I was with my family. I was able to go get drinks with my brother and my brother-in-law. We were able to, have a good time and whatnot. But if you're going there to, rage your face off or whatever, that's not necessarily the place.
Right.
It is a smaller town, but at the same time, if you're looking to relax, if you're looking for something more low key, I mean, South Beach is going to cost you a lot of money, and it's, you know what I mean? It's if that's your vibe, then I definitely recommend you going to Miami. But I don't have to come on this, show to tell you that Miami's cool. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that. I'm more so trying to sign out on some places that I've been to that are a little different, that maybe they're off the tourist trail. And Destin, Florida is definitely one of them.
Yes, sir. Much appreciated. Yeah. I like to talk about not only the tourist attractions and the tourist places, but the off brands or what have you, the innuendos, the stuff that folks don't really know too much about. Like, I don't know nothing about Destin, but now that you say that, I want to look Destin up and see what's out there, because I love beauty and nature. I'm a beach type of person.
It's like, have you been to Cozumel?
Yeah. Definitely.
It's
On a cruise.
Water.
Beautiful.
See, for me to tell you that, that's like, it's like we don't have that in California, man. We don't have aqua water like that. They have really, really nice water out there, and it's warm, which is what makes the difference.
That's the difference. And then let me ask you this, before we start heading out to out the country and whatnot. What about Texas? We didn't talk about you in Texas right now. We didn't talk too much about Texas. What do you recommend?
Yeah, let's talk about Texas, baby. Horns up. So, man, go to Austin. Austin is amazing. Yeah, it's funny. I live in Fort Worth, and Fort Worth is actually bigger than San Francisco. We have more people here than San Francisco. Yeah, Fort Worth is definitely it's called Funky Town. That is what that's like the New York's the Big Apple. We're Funky Town, and it's getting pretty funky out here, man. I mean, the demographics have changed significantly. The county that we're in is right next to Dallas. Dallas is a 30-minute drive from us. Dallas is awesome. Dallas is a great time. But I'll use this analogy, and those that don't know this, we used to call Darren Hollywood back in college. And so I might hit you with the jab right now, but okay, I'll make the analogy that Dallas is LA and Fort Worth is San Diego. So it's a big city, but there's something beautiful about it being a little more low key, you know? And so Fort Worth really feels like a small town. But I mean, you got to think about it. Like I said, we talked about proximity. It's arguably one of the coolest towns in the South right now. You know, in Southern. So Austin's already pretty expensive. I could go on about Austin. Austin's amazing. It is a little California inside of Texas. I mean, anytime some of my friends from California come visit me, I'll take them out to Austin, you know, and then we'll come back and we'll do Fort Worth and Dallas a little bit. But Austin is the closest thing to California that Texas has. It is a beautiful little area. We've got Apple there. We have Google here now. You know what I mean? We got Joe Rogan now. You know what I mean? A lot of people are moving to Austin, man. Austin is popping, you know, but when something becomes that popular, unfortunately, real estate prices and rent prices and just everything else just goes up. So what's happening in the South with the likes of like Arkansas, Georgia, Louisiana, Tennessee, they don't really have big cities, bro. These cities that you thought were big are really not that big, not compared to big cities on the West Coast. I mean, and so what happens is we have a lot of millennials that went to these universities in these surrounding southern states that are moving to Fort Worth or moving to Texas, Dallas, because they can't afford Austin, but they want something bigger than what the South has to offer. So we're kind of like that little, you know, popular area right now that's affordable, that's it's lively, you get the big town feel, but at the same time it's still affordable, you know what I mean? Very diverse, it's very accepting, you know, and it's changed a lot because honestly, for example, Tarrant County for the first time actually turned blue. They actually voted blue. You're getting a lot more like, you know, democratic, progressive. Before it was from my point of view, being in San Diego, is diverse as San Diego is, it was a little closed. It felt like the South. It still felt like that. And now having, you know, it's been a couple of years since I've lived here, and it's just changing so much, and I'm so happy to be here, man, because it's like imagine being in San Diego in the 80s or 70s when it was barely catching momentum. Right. So that's how I feel right now about, like, one of my friends, his name is Neen Williams. He's actually he's a mutual friend. I know his girlfriend. They've been together for over 5 years. He's a professional skateboarder out of Hollywood. You can go to his Instagram. He's got 500,000 followers. They just moved here, you know, and I was like, why would you leave Hollywood? Why would, you know, his girlfriend's got a really successful company out there. He's a really successful dude out in LA, but you have to understand that Texas, you know, it provides you with the opportunity to really kind of have those little extras in life. And I feel like some people are starting to see that now. And so, man, although Texas may not be the most appealing place, come give it a try, man. Come out here. Come give me the opportunity to show you some places, man. And I'm telling you, you'll be like, whoa, man, Hollywood. I moved to California when I was 17 years old. And people used to ask me when I went to high school there, my senior year, did I ride a horse to school? You know, and it's because people really don't understand that we're not the wild, wild west anymore. Texas is changing. You know, and I'm not referring to, you know, if you're left or you're right. I'm not saying that Texas is more, it's more inclusive now than it used to be. You know what I mean? So that's the point I'm trying to get at. Is Texas is not that stereotypical closed-minded Southern mentality place anymore. It's changed, and it's actually blossoming into something beautiful.
Nice, man. And I've been to tell you, I've been to Houston in the summertime. I went the wrong time. I tell you, I go back, but not during it was in August, so that was not the best time to go.
You might as well have gone to Saudi Arabia.
Right. So before we head to Cuba, tell us about like your first trip that that travel. You know how we all get bit by the travel bug. Well, tell us about that time. How did you get bit? Where'd you go? What was all that about?
It's interesting because I was actually in high school, and I don't know if you remembered, but I played for the club soccer team at San Diego State.
I remember.
And heavily involved in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was playing club growing up as a kid since I was a little boy. And one year, my club soccer team, we were really competitive, man. I mean, we were traveling all over the country, and we got bestowed with a professional soccer player. He became our coach. He was retired, and he came to Dallas, and he became our coach. And he used to play in the English Premier League, which is arguably the best league in the world. This is in England, the EPL. And so I guess kind of like that guy that I was telling you about from San Diego State that used to work for George Bush. And I was kind of like, let me share my wisdom with you. I feel like that's what John Murray was trying to do with us. He played for the England national team. He played for Newcastle United. And if you know anything about EPL, this is big time. So he took us in. We were about 16 years old, and he said, I'm going to take y'all to England with me. And I mean, yeah. So what he did was he took me on a soccer. He took our whole team to a soccer tournament, and we were about 16 years old, and he took me out to all of us out to England. And man, I would honestly say that is that is what gave me the addiction that I have to travel. Because look, and I've actually talked about this. I moved to California when I was 17. I literally got in my car. I was still in high school and drove 18 hours to live in San Diego for my final year of high school. That happened, bro, because of my trip to England. Because when I flew to England, it made me fearless. It made me just realize I went to England. We went to a soccer tournament. We did London. We did Newcastle. We did Leeds. We did York. We did a couple of cities in England, and they were amazing. We even went up to Scotland. I got to experience Edinburgh. Every time I talk to people about Scotland, and just all I can talk about is the greenness of it, the vegetation of it, how beautiful it is, you know. But for me to be 16 years old, you know, at that age, you're very hopeful, you're very optimistic, you're very like, man, I could do anything at this point. And when I, you know, for me coming from, you know, I'm a first generation Mexican American. My parents came here from Mexico. I remember for me to even be able to afford that trip, my parents had to, you know, we were selling burritos, you know, we were selling as much, we were grinding, bro, because that was an expensive trip. I remember my father telling me like, man, I don't know if it's going to happen. I just can't come up with that kind of money. Thanks to God, man, I was able to go. And, you know, coming from the background that I have, I think I appreciated that experience a little more than some of the more affluent kids on my club team. Because, you know, it's club soccer, you have some kids with money. But for me, man, I embraced that experience. And I think that it just made me fearless. I had never flown. And that was my first flight. Can you imagine your first flight being a 12-hour flight from Dallas to London? You know what I mean?
Broke you in, bro. Broke you in.
So exactly. It broke me in. And the next year I was like, oh, I'm gonna drive to California. You know what I mean? So my point with bringing up England and why it was so important to me is because it just opened up my eyes to how big the world is and how not scary it is compared to what I thought it was. You know what I mean? So, because my dad is 73 years old. For his 25th anniversary with my mother, he canceled his flights to Hawaii because he was too scared to fly. He's never been on a flight in his life, you know? And so coming from a family like that, where we've never flown, my parents never took me on a flight, you know, it was kind of scary, but to be able to do it at a young age with my teammates, with people that I loved my teammates and my coach and everything. It was pretty cool, man, you know, and to be able to come back from that and be like, well, that was nothing. It was very liberating, you know.
Right. Man, that's real cool, man. I'm glad. Like I said, just hearing your story is very inspirational. I'm sure some of our listeners, our watchers, they're gonna be inspired by that and start traveling themselves. So that's pretty dope. But now we actually finally landed in our destination. So welcome to Cuba. So now that we done touched down safe and sound, if you can do us a favor, Manny, if you could just, I mean, how was your trip? We're going to focus on Cuba. It's going to be all about Cuba. I hear the music, the food, talk about everything that Cuba has to offer. So what was that trip like?
¿Lo quieres hacer en español? ¿Sabes hablar un poquito de español, no?
Claro que sí, pero mi español no es perfecto, pero puedo
Yeah,
hablar más o
I
menos.
know, I know you can spit some Spanish, bro. You've been to enough countries. I know you. So, man, look, look, man, Cuba, if you guys remember, Cuba was made possible thanks to the amazing person that Barack Obama is, because Barack Obama actually basically opened the door for Americans to go to Cuba, because prior to that, we had I don't know if you know the history. I used to be a history teacher, so I know I hit back on these things every now and then. But the Cuban Missile Crisis resulted in us putting an embargo with them. Basically, we didn't mess with them at all.
Mhm,
We didn't we
mhm,
didn't
mhm.
we didn't go there. They didn't come here. If you left Cuba, you had to stay here, and that was, you know what I mean. So there's
Right.
no communication between us. So it's been, and it's funny because when America says we don't mess with you anymore, oh Lord, it's going to take its toll on you,
Mhm,
because what
mhm.
ended up happening is, because Cuba is a communist country, they really suffered, man. And I got to see that firsthand. First of all, if you're going to go to Cuba, and I think this is very valuable information, which is why I wanted to share this with you guys. If you want to go to Cuba, during the Obama administration, he mandated 10 reasons for you to be able to go to Cuba. And one of them, which is a very gray area, and this is why I love my boy Obama, because I know he's a smart dude and I know he knew what he was doing. He basically said, okay, so there's a bunch of reasons, right? Like you're providing medical relief for them, or you're an educator, and maybe there were very specific reasons, and maybe you
Mhm,
may not have fallen into those reasons to be able to travel to Cuba, right?
mhm,
Because it had been since the 70s. This was back in 2012, 13 that he allowed us to finally go there,
mhm.
right? And so nobody had really been able to go there, and it was those, some of those reasons to go there were like very exclusive. So then he put in the 10th reason, and it was to help the Cuban people. And so if you're a tourist, you're helping the Cuban people. So it was kind of like a
Exactly.
loophole, which unfortunately Donald Trump has closed. But I will shine a little bit of hope on you, which is why I wanted to talk about Cuba, because I do like to finesse my way into situations if I can. I do like to take my risks. They're not illegal,
Right.
but hear me out. So I was able to get into Cuba. I actually knew that I could use that. I was actually an educator, so I could have used one of the 10 reasons, which was education, but I had to show
Mhm,
proof, and I didn't really have any because I wasn't going there to teach. I was going there for
mhm,
a week, and that was it. But then there was to help the Cuban people, but how would I show proof of that? So I was like, okay, I can't rely on those 10 things. So I was really stressed out because I bought my flight. My flights were cheap, bro. If you fly out of Cancun straight to Cuba, that's an hour flight. And that's what a lot of people don't know. Okay.
mm,
So if you're going to go to Cuba, my highest recommendation for you is to go ahead and take advantage of Cancun. Go to Cancun for a little bit, and
mhm,
then you can hop over into Cuba. I think I paid like $100, and it's because of the proximity. You know,
mhm,
flight really cheap from Cancun to Cuba. It's an hour flight. You know,
mhm.
so now you ask yourself, okay, cool, but I'm not Mexican. I'm not Canadian, because Canadians and people from England, they're loving Cuba. They're going. You know why? Because they can. We
Right.
can't, quote
Right.
unquote. I'm going to tell you how you can. All right.
Right.
Cubans want you to go. That is what I learned. They need you. They
Mhm,
want you. And man, I will say this before I continue about how to get into Cuba. I will say that the reason why Cuba is in the top 3 of my list, and yeah, I think honestly it will probably be there for the rest of my life. I don't know. Maybe I've been to mainland Africa, but I haven't been to like Nairobi. I'm really looking forward to going to Nigeria. I have a lot of friends from Nigeria and Lagos, and I'm really looking forward to like the traditional African experience, because I feel like the people that I know in Africa are really grateful for the reception that they've received from people who are not accustomed to seeing people like them. Go to
mhm.
Mexico City, they're used to you. They're used to you. They've seen you. You
Yeah.
go to a tribe in Africa, you know, a very remote area, and these people are not accustomed to seeing
Mhm,
Westerners. And,
mhm,
and it is very, it'll do something to your heart when you witness the reception of people who are not accustomed to seeing people like you, because they want to be your best friend. They're not trying to make money off of you. They're not used to tourists. You go to tourist areas and you're like, man, these people who are used to tourists, they just want to make a buck off of me. Man, Cuba is exactly like going to some of these remote places in Africa, in the sense that these people have never seen us. They've never seen tourists. And so when you go there, everybody wants to come talk to you. Everybody. They know from how you look, from how you walk, from how you dress, they know that you're not from there. And I'll be honest with you, in Europe, nobody really cares about you too much the way that they do in some of these other places, because in Europe, it's just like, you're just anybody, you're like, hey, whatever, you're anybody else. We're used to you. Go to Spain, go to Madrid. I love these places. I absolutely love Europe, but there's something about Cuba and the reception that I got there from people there are people there that I've never seen in America. You're the first American I've talked to. And there's just something so genuine about that experience. And so before I go on about Cuba, what you do is you fly, however you end up in Mexico, you go to Cancun, okay? In Cancun, there will be people there. It's not difficult at all. Some of the people that I went to Cuba with didn't even speak a lick of English, okay? They didn't speak any English. It's not hard. You go to the airport in Cancun, and you just say Cuba visa, Cuba visa, Cuba visa. And so you will find the people that are selling visas to Cuba. And here's the beautiful thing. They are actually tangible visas, where they're not connected to your passport, because a lot of times people get scared of the idea. Well, if I have a stamp from Cuba, at the border, they're gonna have a problem with it. Nobody asks anything. I can show you. I'll pull out my passport right now. I got the Cuban stamp on my passport because my stamps mean the world to me. My passport is the most valuable thing that I have. My stamps are everything. So I said, you know what? Yeah, you put your stamp on this little ticket, but I want it on my passport because that's the type of vibe that I like.
That's a real traveler.
Hey, so if you want to put it, they'll let you. So let's say that this is your passport, okay? They'll give you, this is your visa, and you can put the visa here. So the United States will never know you went there. Okay? And it's you gotta think. They want you there. They really do. Nobody's going to give you a hard time there. And that was my experience. I have a lot of friends that have gotten into Cuba through this means. Okay. So I'm not giving you some sketchy means of getting there. Do your research. Go. You don't have to listen to me. Go on Google and figure out how Americans get into visa now during the Trump administration. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, during the Biden administration, it'll change again, and we'll go back the Obama era, where we're like, well, why can't we go to this country? You know what I mean? Isn't that where freedom is? We can dictate wherever the hell we want to go. Well, I want to go to Cuba, because if you go to Cuba, not only can you go to Havana, which is, oh my God, I mean, dude, first of all, Havana is what I want you to prepare for when it comes to Cuba is that you're going to have an experience unlike any other. Okay. First of all, you can't have a hotel. Our government says that you cannot do anything in Cuba that supports their government. All right, because they're communists, right? Their government, their hotels are actually government owned. Okay, so you can't stay in a hotel. So Airbnb changed the game for Cuba, and I love it because what it did. Man, so I have a beautiful story. What you're going to stay in Cuba is actually called a casa particular. Casa particular, which is basically a house family, which is basically a family that offers you their home to come stay with them. And I had never done that, man. I used to stay in luxury hotels. I used to stay in hostels. I used to stay in all kinds of dwellings during my travels, depending on my financial experience or situation. But Cuba offered me the opportunity to live, breathe, smell, and experience Cuba through the eyes of a Cuban. And whenever I explain Cuba to people, my explanation consists of me saying, imagine stepping into a time machine and going back 40 years, because that is what Cuba is. My entire 6-day experience in Cuba, I was not on my phone at all. I was not on the phone. Give me 1 second.
Do your thing, brother. So yeah, for those folks, definitely he's speaking the gospel right now. So make sure you pay attention. And also know that you can actually travel for those folks who are like in San Diego, Southern California area. I believe you can travel from Tijuana and take a trip over there as well. So not only Cancun, I don't know how you guys gonna get to Cancun, but those folks who are in San Diego and Southern California, you can
Oh
also
yeah,
take a trip from Tijuana as well. So
that's how
yeah.
I did. I went.
Okay.
I don't fly from America to Mexico. I cross the border into Tijuana and I fly from Tijuana.
And the prices are cheaper too, huh?
Yeah,
Going out of
it's domestic. Because it's domestic. I think from Tijuana to Cancun is dirt cheap.
Okay.
From
What
San
about from
Diego
Tijuana to Cuba though? Tijuana to Cuba. Does that
I
work?
didn't go that route because I wanted to get that stamp. I had to
Okay.
get the
I got
pizza.
got you.
I wanted
Got
to
you.
get the pizza. So that's why I went that route.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, Cuba's dirt cheap. It's cheapest country. I mean, dude, I was the people that I stayed with. I mean, I still communicate with them. I have their email. I mean, it was just such a genuine experience. They took care of me like I've never experienced before, But unfortunately, I was staying with a family. The mother, the head of the family, the mother was a pediatrician. And I don't know if you know this, but Cubans actually have some of the best doctors in the world.
Oh, I
And
didn't.
they actually export. Yeah, they export their doctors all over the world. Yeah, this is they're facts, baby. There's something that Cuba produces. It's really good doctors. And so I was actually privileged enough to be with a pediatrician, a very, very nice lady, and she made $70 a month. We're talking about, some of the best doctors in the world. And think about it. I mean, what would a pediatrician make here? And I always tell people to guess the amount of money that she made, man. And I didn't want to have to do that, but she made $75 a month. So the reason why I said Airbnb was a game changer was because, it really is putting money into people's pockets in a country where their government just, isn't, because the thing about Cuba, brother, is that, you see those pictures of these really old school cars. You know why? Because they don't get any more cars. That's it. They don't get new cars. The embargo that the Americans put on Cuba basically prohibited any countries that America dealt with, which if you think about it, it's England, Germany, Japan, and America. We're the main producers of vehicles. And basically they said, we're not sending them anything else. So all they have is what they got prior to the embargo, which is from the 50s and the 60s. And so you'll see a bunch of really, really old cars there because that's all they got. And what's crazy is, man, so let's say that your father, let's say you grew up in Cuba. So the family business would be your car, and you would inherit and so, man, yeah. So I was, chopping it up with, young bucks, like teenagers, like 18, 17, 16. And I would tell them about, dude, I don't even know how to sorry. Uh, I don't even know how to make my own oil, bro. But these people, man, they're so resourceful because this kid knows every little thing about his car because that is the family's economic vessel. And so it's crazy to see these cars that are 50, 60 years old and they're in pristine condition. And they are, they've kind of hacked them a little bit because it's hard to get parts there. But those cars are up and running, man. And so point being, the people there are really poor, and the people there, so when you go there and they see that you're there to help them, they just gravitate towards you. And it's not in this overwhelming way. It's in a very genuine way. And for example, like, So if you go to Havana's really cool, man. Like a lot of the people there, they can't afford to go out to drink. So what they do is it's called a malecon, which is a long strip. They'll just post up on the side of the street, and it's for blocks. You just see people drinking on the streets. And if you want to dance, you'll see the people dancing. I mean, the first day that I was there, it was just blew me away. I mean, I did some stuff that man, it was amazing. Just the amount of people that I met on my first day was remarkable. I've been to countries where I've been there for days and still haven't really communicated on a really genuine level with people because it's so tourist infested, and they're not as interested in you as a result of this, right? You're in and out, and they realize that. Whereas these people there, they're like, man, I've never seen people come in. So let me, and so, I mean, it was special, but knowing me, I didn't stay in Havana too long. I hopped off to the beach because the beach is not there. You got to go up north. So there's an area called Varadero, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from Havana. And it is one of the nicest beaches I've ever seen in my life. And I'm a huge beach guy. And I mean, I told you that Destin was nice, and domestically it is, but when we start talking about islands in the Caribbean, well, it's hard to match up that. So if you do go to Cuba, understand that there's a couple of places that you can bounce off on. You don't have to stay in Havana. Varadero is very, very common on the Cuban trail. And so one of the really cool things there, man, is that I experienced there is, I mean, obviously they have palm trees on the beach, which is really cool, but like, literally, when I was there, I had so many people coming up to me and offering me to go and hang out with their family to drink and eat. I mean, if there's one thing that the Cubans know, it's suffrage, it's poverty, and it's how to have a good time during the weekends, because that is that is how they break free. That is how, it may be difficult and this and that. And Monday through Friday, it may be very difficult for these individuals. But on Saturday and Sunday, they go with their families to the beach and they take advantage of their island. The rum there is amazing. Club Havana is some of the best rum I've ever had. And I think it's like under $2 for a bottle, and that's all you need. I mean, it's dirt cheap. I mean,
how's the food? You always got to talk about the food. How's the food? I've heard different things about Cuba, so what's your opinion about the food?
The food is good, man. It's not as good as Mexican food, but it's good. I mean, it's bomb. I mean, of course, I like to stay on healthy. I don't eat too much fried food, so I had a bunch of Cuban sandwiches, a lot of plantain, a lot of rice and beans, and it's different. It's not like Mexican stuff, and so I really enjoyed it. They have a lot of their asada is really good. It's very different. It's seasoned differently, but honestly, their food, it was good. It wasn't one of those like lasting impressions that I had, but it was not bad.
Right. And that's what I've heard about it. I heard that Cuba's not known for their food per se, more so for the beaches and the nice scenery and the culture. Like, just like the cars. Yeah, we know about the cars. Cigars. Yeah, Cuban cigars. We know about that. So the food, Cuban. I heard of a Cuban sandwich. What's on a Cuban sandwich?
Cuban sandwich is pork. It's pork, avocado, cheese, and the bread and tomato. If I'm not, it's pretty common to a Mexican torta. It just tastes a little different. I don't know. I think it's because they put it on like a panini presser, and so it's kind of toasted a bit. So it's good, man.
Cool. Well, what flight did you? Because I like to go with the flights and all that. What flight did you take? What airline?
I want to say Aeromexico.
Okay, because it was from Cancun, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Or actually, no, it was Volaris, which is like,
I've done that before as well. So how was that flight? How was that like the customer service? How was it? Did they give you any food? Because I'm huge when it comes to
dude.
Sometimes they just only give you pretzels. I'm like, hey man, take these pretzels back and put some in the oven and bring it on to me. But yeah,
man, they'll roll out the red carpet for you. It's unlimited drinks in Mexico. It's free. You don't have to pay.
And it's free.
It's free, yeah.
Mm, go
Yeah,
figure. Well, I'm gonna
yeah.
have to try that out one of these
Depending
days.
on what airline you go with, Aeromexico is free. I mean, you can order tequila. They'll give you 2 tequilas. You know what I mean? Volaris, I think no. I think Volaris gives you a couple complimentary drinks. Viva Idol Boost is the one that I would compare to Spirit. It's the cheapest one. Hella
Okay,
cheap.
I
Hella
got.
cheap. Viva Idol Boost is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean when I went, I mean it was a pretty short flight, but I remember getting pretty faded on the flight before we landed. And it was free.
Wow, man. Hey, see, now you getting folks some ideas, man. They gonna be like, yo, what's that plane that got the free alcohol? What's that airline? So that'll be cool. So you know what? We talked about the food recommendations, the places, the culture, how the cars, how was the music? What type of music and salsa? Is it dance? What type
Oh
what
man,
they do
that's
out
where
there?
you're gonna thrive, bro. That's where you're gonna thrive because those people are the best dancing people I've ever. And I've been to Colombia, but those Cubans, man, I've been
Cubans
to
get down.
Colombia. Oh man, it's I loved it because man, it's funny because I started. I could send you a song and maybe you can put it on a link or something so you can
Mhm.
get an idea of the Cuban sound, but it's a very, very different sound to the Mexican sound.
Mhm.
It's in the sense that you can definitely hear the African tune there. You can hear the Latino and
Mhm.
Creole blending of the sound, and it's a
Mhm.
very, very beautiful concoction because
Mhm.
I left that place constantly asking people what that song was. Yeah, there's a band called Buena Vista Social Club, which is from Cuba, that plays amazing music, and I still listen to them to this day. It's very, very amazing music. I mean, you're gonna get there's it's very easy to go and dance there. I mean, when you go there, it's everything revolves around that. You know what
Mm,
I mean?
it's
And
life.
and
It's
I
life.
still remember going to that. Remember when you took me to LA and we went to that sorority fraternity Christmas party? And for me, the experience for me was that uh, it was a Kappa party, so
Uh,
I was very intimidated by the high level of dancing that was there. I'll never forget that, man. And so I would say that those people that were at that party would probably feel a little bit like me when I went to Cuba, in the sense that you're like, whoa, those people are good at dancing, and you're a little,
uh-huh.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if those people at that party were a level above me, the people in Cuba are next level because it's all they do. They
Right.
don't. Okay, so Darren, I wanted to stress this because I feel like this is one of the most. I have to tell you about it because it's important. But it
Mhm.
was honestly one of the most amazing experiences that I had in Cuba, and it was that I didn't have internet the whole time I was there.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and you can. Um,
You can't.
but it's very difficult. Like it's not that I didn't want to have it. There's times where I was like, man, I want to check my Facebook, or I want to post this picture on Instagram or something, But
Yeah.
man, it was just kind of a pain in the ass to go and get on the internet. You literally had to like go to specific parts in the city to get
Right.
internet. So that'll explain a lot of why they're so behind, is because bro, I went in 2016, 17, and they were barely getting internet. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So
Wow.
when I tell you, you step in a time machine and go backwards in time, I'm not kidding. I'm
Wow.
not kidding. And so there was something about not having the internet and me fully immersing myself in the experience that made it
Mhm.
so much more remarkable and memorable for me. Because
Right.
a lot of times, I like to travel alone. I do
Mm.
like groups. It's a little more stressful sometimes in groups, a lot of pressure, a lot of, a lot of
Different opinions.
have to align. Like, I want to go eat this. There's people, I don't want to do that. I want to go eat
Mhm.
this. So sometimes I like to travel alone, but when you travel alone, you get a little lonely sometimes, and so you resort to utilizing your phone for means of communications with the outside world, right? In
Mhm.
Cuba, you're not going to feel lonely. You're not going to feel lonely because you're going to have so many people wanting to hang out with you and talk to you and get to know you, that you don't even find yourself looking on your phone during those awkward, lonely encounters at the bar where you're like looking around like, oh, so you just resort to going to your phone. You don't have that because it's constantly, it's constant, like people just coming and talking to you. And if there's not somebody talking to you, there's somebody like, oh, there's my chance to go talk to that for me.
Wait.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. So yeah, man, that because Cuba's definitely on my list of places to go. So that's something I want to put higher on my list, of course. So we'll definitely touch on that. But you know, all to my travelers out there, it looks like we're gonna have to wrap everything up. So we do have a flight to catch to get on out of Cuba and get back to our home airport. So hopefully y'all got a lot of value today. Hopefully, you know, Manny brought a lot of info, a lot of travel knowledge that y'all can use and take back with you. Hope you got a lot of souvenirs that you can take back. So make sure y'all been taking notes, listening, paying attention, and then you just replay it or whatever you need to do that. And then not only that, we as we head on back, we have one last segment. It is the lightning round. And so in this round, Manny, I'm going to ask you a list of questions, 13 to be exact. You have 60 seconds to answer all of them, and you can only use one word answers. Okay.
Okay.
So you got it so far? You good?
I'm ready.
You ready? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So let me get my, okay, got my timer right there. So now, first question. Let me go ahead and what is your favorite airline?
American.
What is your favorite hotel?
Consistent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one. Okay, I got 60 seconds. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the Hilton brand, Sheraton, all those.
Okay, got you. The cruise line, favorite cruise line. What's your favorite cruise line?
Norwegian.
Norwegian. What is your favorite state?
California, baby.
There you go. What is your favorite country?
America, but to visit Mexico.
And then
Mexico. Sure.
what is your favorite hotel booking site?
Booking. I go
Favorite.
through Booking. Or I will say this: if you're into hostels, go to Hostel World.
That's a good one. Hostel World. That's a good one. That's yeah, Hostel World, good one. And then last thing, what no, a couple more. What
Good.
thing, what one thing you must bring with you on all your trips?
And my headphones.
And then last but not least, where do you want to go next?
Boy, I was gonna tell you, Punta Cana. You already been there.
Punta Cana,
Yeah,
bruh. Hey,
Dominican.
you will love Punta Cana because it's very you love beaches just like I do. The water is beautiful. It's the same. The Caribbean, the water's warm, it's white, pristine sand. You put your feet at the you can see your feet at the bottom of the ocean. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, definitely, man. Hey, you know what, Manny? Much appreciated, brother. I thank you for stopping by with us, man. And then to all my travelers out there, hopefully y'all got some good information. I'm sure that y'all did. Y'all got a lot of information, a lot of value today. And so with that being said, what I want to do now, we are about to head or depart. What's the word? What's the word? Land. We're about to land, as a matter of fact. So we're about to land in our home port, home airport. So with that being said, before we land, all my travelers, I need you guys back into your seats. I need your seatbelts fastened, trays up, seats in an upright position. And before we do land, Manny, if you can give our listeners one last piece of travel advice, what would that be?
I would say that for me, I can actually go get these little artifacts. Give me 5 seconds. I'll bring it.
5, 4, 3. No, I'm just so yeah,
Should've
man.
kept going.
Oh,
So
I
look,
should have
so
kept counting.
one of my, and I would have gone to get my dashiki, but it's a little further. So my favorite thing is that during my travels, I've gotten to meet people from places that I've never been to.
Mhm.
And, building those relationships with them, it makes me really feel attached to those places, even though I haven't been there.
Mhm.
And these people that I've met during my travels have become longtime friends. And I have a lot of friends that I met in Saudi Arabia, from Nigeria, So maintaining these relationships with people means a lot. And every now and then you'll get to get some cool tribal stuff like this from Africa.
Oh, that's
And
dope.
so, yeah, so I have a dashiki from Nigeria. I have all kinds of stuff from places I've never even been to, but I got to experience them through these relationships that I built through my travels. So don't just look at travel as an opportunity to relax. It's an opportunity for you to build long life relationships, and I've really benefited from them, brother. Honestly, I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing with you, because I really feel like this is important knowledge that needs to be shared. You know.
Much appreciated, brother. Much appreciated. Thank you for that. That's great, great advice. And to my listeners out there, we have safely landed. So thank you for flying here with us at the Global Travel Podcast. And you guys enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you on our next trip. If you would like to be a guest on our show and tell us about your travel experiences, then leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can reach out to you. Also, if you have any countries, states, or cities that you'd like us to review, please let us know so we can plan a trip there. Lastly, if you got some good value today and liked our podcast, please hit the like button and click subscribe so you can travel with us again next time. So subscribe right now because you don't want to miss the next trip. With that being said, over and out.